Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, across all platforms to the Gaming Tangents Podcast. Yes.
Woo. I have a reason for having to be a little quiet about it tonight.
All right. You got company over. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, here. Let me try a half-assed one.
Okay. Oh, that wasn't the half-assed one?
No, that wasn't the half-assed one.
Now we're gonna really half-ass it. All right. You better blow me away with this half-assedness.
Ready?
Go ahead.
Ready? Here we go.
Go ahead.
3,
I'm gonna go.
2, 1.
Yeah.
Woo. Okay. Done.
All right. You get a B- for effort. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You've stumbled onto the official podcast of the Cross-Platform Show. We are the Gaming Tangents. I'm Menji.
And I'm Maverick.
How's it going, buddy? How you doing? What's the word?
It is going. It's been a great week. I didn't get shot.
Oh,
and
that's news.
I
like it.
And Supergirl has been renewed on the CW. I'm very happy about this.
Yeah, she didn't like her old home.
I think they didn't like her old home.
It totally makes sense to change it. I was surprised that they had put it anywhere but the CW in the first place, despite the fact that she was in the same universe. Like, it was probably an attempt to see if they couldn't kind of broaden the channel demographic, like kind of get people looking at other channels for once.
That's probably what they were trying to do.
Yeah, but that's just not going to work.
Well, and then,
works okay for movies, but not TV. Right.
Well, and then I'm really not trying to knock the feminist movement or anything like that, but I was watching Grace Randolph's report on how it's being renewed, and she says that they need to tone down the girl power. And I went back and watched a couple of episodes, and I'm like, yeah, she's kind of right, because they're kind of like it's fine the way they're doing it. It's just they're overdoing it a little, like little things, president. What does the president want? Oh, she hasn't made an order yet. Or what would God do in this situation? Well, God loves her children. It's like, okay, that's taking it a bit too far. Okay, let's take a step back a little bit.
So pretty much everybody in their world is a woman.
Almost. It's like
anybody of importance, anyways.
Yeah, I think just Jimmy Olsen and Wynn.
Is he alive?
What, Jimmy Olsen? Oh yeah.
No, he's alive this time. Okay.
Yeah, and he's black.
That's right, he's hunky. So we're just changing everything.
But you know what, though? I like that. I like that spin.
I don't care about that, quite honestly. I mean, who cares about Jimmy Olsen in the first place? And so if you can make him cooler...
if you can make him cooler... I like that spin.
Fine.
It was like... It's a different kind of Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah,
so
what I mean is, like, who's ever cared about Jimmy Olsen up until now?
Right, right, exactly.
Nobody even cared that he died in BBS. So it's like, you can make him cooler, go ahead and try.
Right. No, and this one does a good job. I think they don't need to focus on him more, but I mean, I think that they could up his presence just a little more, because I mean, he's supposed to be the love interest and everything like that. So
maybe they will. You never know.
But either way, which also brings me, I'm going into such a it's like gaming tangents, not movie tangents.
You're heading into tangent land.
But I have to actually retract a thing I said about, partially retract the thing I said about Ghostbusters on a couple of weeks ago.
I said mistakes were not necessary until fixing your mistakes was not necessary until episode 20. So just remember that.
Right. Well, I'm still retracting part of what I said.
Okay.
Only because I still stand by the fact that it does look like a fun movie. But
wait, are you talking about the remake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not nothing can top the original.
The last time we talked about Ghostbusters, it was about the re-release in the theaters. That was the last thing we said.
Right. Well, I'm talking about this new one that's coming out.
All right.
That's getting so much hate now.
It is.
Yeah. And here's my thing. There was another trailer that I saw. I actually saw this trailer when I saw Batman vs Superman, which I never discussed. And it showed different clips than what I saw, on YouTube and whatnot. And Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, the Chris Hemsworth trailer.
Yeah.
That one's online too.
He is the secretary.
Right.
And it's like, you don't, if you're going to go this route, we don't need the full role reversal. You go ahead and continue to make it a woman. On top of that, they make him that stereotypical male that, because they're making the logo and everything like that, and he draws the ghost with boobs and everything like that, and it's like
a total pig and really stupid.
Exactly. It's like, okay, this isn't really equality. This is swaying the whole.
Which is sad because everybody loved Janine. We all love Janine. She's such a great character. And I guess so he's supposed to technically, I guess, be the Janine of the movie. And to just kind of boil him down to just kind of like this sexist Fabio.
That is a problem I do have. It's like, like I said, if you're gonna go with that route, why just not make her a woman instead? Make the character a woman and just keep Janine.
Why is he hunky too?
Right.
Why Chris Hemsworth in the first place?
Exactly. I don't get it, and I'm just like, okay, now I'm starting to kind of feel like a lot of this hate is justified.
Yeah, you're understanding it. See, this is like this something we talked about in the other episode where it's put itself in a position now where you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. Like,
right,
if you don't like it, it's because it's the all-girl cast. It has nothing to do with the merit of the quality of the film. You just hate it because there's girls and you have a ding-dong between your legs.
Right, but like I said, I just wish they kind of would have went that route. If you're gonna do that, just take it all away. Don't just do a complete role reversal and everything. And then I just read tonight that they're going to do a reboot of Ocean 11 with all females. And I'm like, okay, what about if we're going to talk equality, then why not make it a mixture of both?
Because then we would actually have equality and nobody would have anything to fight about.
Right. So, I mean, again, I don't have an issue so much with it. It's just that if it's going to be anything like Ghostbusters and how this Ghostbusters is going to turn out, like I said, I'm still going to give the movie a chance. Like I said, overall, it looks like a fun movie. I don't think I know I'm not taught the original, but I also think this is going to fail at the box office because of all the hate it's getting. It's like all preconceived stuff, and it's like, come on, at least give the movie a chance, and then, get your pitchforks and torches,
Yeah.
But, with Ocean's 11, if they do this, I hope they do it where if they're going to do all women, then don't do role reversals. Just go all the way. If you're going to do that, or do a mixture of both.
Yeah, I just when it comes to like this girl power thing, I just hate when they do like what they've done with Ghostbusters, where they make like the men complete doofuses.
Right.
Because I don't think in a lot of these movies that they're changing up, I don't think the women have ever been portrayed as like ditzy or dumb. For the most part.
I don't want to say yes or no because I can't think of any right now, and I'm sure once we end this podcast, I'm gonna think of that one movie, and I'm gonna be like,
shit, that one that would have shattered my argument. But like right. Janine, no, like she was totally smart, totally her own woman. Like she knew who she was and what she wanted in both movies.
She didn't fuck around.
No, dude. And what's her name? Julia Roberts. She's in Ocean's 11, right? George Clooney's girlfriend.
Yeah. Okay, I'm like, why are you bringing up Julia Roberts? I'm like, oh yeah, Ocean's 11.
She did good in that movie. Like, she wasn't like a dumb character. She was actually the one that kept him in check.
Right.
Through most of the movie.
They kept him grounded and everything like that.
Yeah, and so if they're going to turn around, well, like, it's all women now, and the women are the best, and the men are stupid. That's, you're not creating equality. You're just tipping the boat in the other direction.
Right. So, but like I said, I'm for either a mixture of both, a mixture of both men and women, or if you're gonna do the whole role reversal thing, go all the way. Don't just like I said, the Chris Hemsworth thing bothers me because it's like it's one thing. I knew he was gonna be in the movie, but I didn't know that he was gonna be that character.
Oh, yeah. I think most people already knew that he was the secretary.
Right, and then
Which is just already weird. Before he even showed up in any of the previews, like talking, like something was just off. Like, what? I don't know. Why is this hunky guy a secretary? Like like the call center guy, receptionist. Like that would be the last job he would have. Have you ever seen that guy? Have you ever seen a hunky receptionist?
I have not.
So already your movie's kind of reaching for the stars.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But again, like I said, despite all that, like I will give the movie a fair chance. It's just something that really bothered me because I was just like, that I think was unnecessary. And a lot of people don't like the jokes that are in there and whatnot, and then people are starting to nitpick at little things here and there, and it's like just try to. If you don't want to watch it, fine, don't watch it. But don't.
I think it's because they're constantly getting called out on why they don't like it. And so they're having to find more and more reasons. Well, there's this and there's this, but it's still, you just don't like it because they're girls, right? No, there's also this and this.
Right.
So I think that's part of the reason why people are nitpicking.
Yeah, I mean, there's other legitimate reasons people don't like it. I personally am not bothered by the jokes and whatnot, and I was
the very opposite, reacting to the trailers. Most people, or a lot of people, they didn't like a lot of things, or they thought like the jokes are okay, but I really hate the way those ghosts look.
Right.
And I actually like the way the ghosts look.
Oh yeah,
in the trailer.
That's one thing. I think the effects look really good.
I think the ghosts look good, and apparently that's all practical with CG put on top.
Right, exactly. I heard it's not all completely CG. Like
I'm down for that. It's the jokes fell flat every single time. Power of Patty compels you. Oh, that's gonna leave a mark. Okay. Pulling out that old gem from 1992.
Let's see, I'm a sucker for those kind of jokes. That's why they didn't bother me.
God, yeah.
I like those. Again, remember, I'm the one who's always partial to a lot of this stuff.
Mr. Positivity over here.
Hey, I bought you some positive on something.
Yes.
So, but like I said, I think the movie's not going to do well just because of the backlash. I kind of hope that's not the case, because if it's moderately successful, then there's room to, I wouldn't say fix mistakes or whatnot, but I would say like improve on what they're building, and who knows, maybe somewhere along the line they can get something where people are going to be satisfied with it.
I'm going to watch some female reviews of the movie, and from there I will judge. Therefore nobody can say I'm biased. I'm not, unless I'm getting paid to review it. I'm probably not going to watch it unless somebody tells me that it was way better than expected and that it was just getting a bad rap. I don't foresee that happening, unfortunately, is the problem.
Yeah, well, I have a child who would like to see it, so because he just likes Ghostbusters in general. But like I said, he's seen the original and he's seen the sequel, so it's not like I'm going to be introducing him to this brand new thing, and it's going to be like, what the hell,
Yeah, mine don't. Mine are saying what the hell. I haven't had to coax them.
Really?
I'm like, there's a new Ghostbusters coming out. This time they're all girls, and they are the little rascals, so they're like, girls. I'm like, hey, man, it's fine if they're girls, but I don't think they're going to be very funny.
Yeah, well, again, and maybe, who knows, maybe they're saving all the actual funny parts for later. I don't know. I've seen
how many comedy movies can sell their movie on their worst jokes in the trailer? You have to put a couple gems in there if you want people to show up. That is a bad argument.
I know. I'm just saying that I'm just trying to put a little positivity in the whole thing.
Nobody sends clips to a trailer editor and go, here's the shit that we have. Turn it into gold.
Well, that's why I'm like hoping that with Suicide Squad they didn't put all their good clips in there, because I mean that movie looks good.
That's what people are afraid of, is that that's all their little funny bits. But so far, people are more positive on that, despite the failures of Batman versus Superman. People are still seeming pretty positive on Suicide Squad. So that's a good sign.
Well, yeah, Suicide Squad. Wow.
Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad is, you know, that. I'm probably also hyped because I'm kind of hoping that they took some of their ideas from the most recent Batman movie, which we talked about, Attack on Arkham.
Oh yeah.
Or Assault on Arkham.
Yeah.
And people are right. Harley Quinn, she's selling it. I like the representation. I know a lot of people are giving her hell about her representation of Harley Quinn, but I actually like it. And then, of course, everyone's saying, "Oh, that Will Smith's the other one," and this and that. And it's like, yeah, but I that's the only problem I have. It's Will Smith.
He's a big problem for me.
It's Will, and I like Will Smith. Don't
have to tell me.
I like Will Smith. It's just that you can't deny that it's as I mentioned, it's Will Smith playing Will Smith as Deadshot.
This is not him sleeping in a bathroom stall with his 5-year-old son, Will Smith. This is just Will Smith firing on all Will Smith cylinders.
Right. And again, I will say that Suicide Squad line that everybody keeps harping on, it does not sound as bad. This is almost
some kind of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it does not sound
it is very Will Smithy.
It's Will Smithy, but I mean, it doesn't sound like how everyone's saying it, like the way you're saying it and everything, But
that's the way I remember it, so that's the way it comes off.
That's the way I keep hearing people say it. I think that's
the way it comes off. It's
but
I remember.
I know. We still got a Suicide Squad.
Do you remember that first image of Rogue One that came out? The first promo image where it's just like a group shot of all the actors in front of an X-wing.
I think so.
It was really dark and gray and kind of gritty looking photo.
Mm-hmm.
So I follow Mr. Sunday Movies on Twitter, and somebody had sent him that picture, and I forget if there was a meme writing on top of it, if they just added text on the tweet that just so what are we supposed to be? Some kind of a Rogue One? just laughing about that for weeks.
My God. Well, I don't know. Like I said, I get it, though. I think the thing that bothers me is that he's doing that role, and Deadshot is, in the Assault on Arkham, he was my favorite character. If you've seen it, he was pretty badass.
I did, and again, I'm not as up on the DC like B and C list characters as I am with the Marvel characters.
Right. And
so I kept getting him confused with the other guy who was in it, whose name I keep forgetting. I'm pretty sure he's in the movie as well.
KG Beast?
No.
Killer Croc was in it. Shark?
No, not King Shark, dude. Another guy that was just... He looked almost exactly like him, except he didn't wear a mask. You don't remember either, apparently. So never mind.
I don't remember because I'm not thinking about what you're saying. I don't know.
There's another guy in the show.
It's not the Joker.
No, there was another guy on the Suicide Squad.
In that movie.
They almost had the exact same
Harley
face.
Quinn.
Like they were both African American guys with goatees.
Oh, shoot! What was the guy's name? I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen the movie. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. It's the guy who gets his head blown off, right?
No, because I was getting them confused. I was like, "There's two of these guys."
Right, but the other guy was...
Does he get his head blown off?
He gets his head blown off. Batman switches costumes with him. And he's
later on. Yeah. Okay, so that guy. So I kept getting them confused.
Right.
It was confusing for me. And then to top that all off, the Deadshot on Arrow is like this really scrawny, like unhealthy looking white guy. And so that's a world of a difference.
Wow.
He's traded up to Will Smith.
Well, I have not
Parents
seen...
just don't understand. I am a parent.
Yeah, well, I have no...
I will probably not get to see it in the theaters, not out of choice, but out of situation. So...
I see.
That's fine. The fact that I got to see Deadpool in the theaters was a lucky break, because Van was in town.
Right.
I fixed it.
Right. Well, like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I think that's the only other movie I was excited about besides Captain America, which I can finally talk about with you.
Yay! I saw it. I did my duty.
Once again, spoiler alerts for anybody who has not seen it. We're probably going to be talking about a lot of spoilers here for a moment because
we got to get it off our chest.
Get into our gaming stuff.
We got to get it off our chest. Hey, we were talking about comic book superhero games last week.
Right.
Technically, I guess it was supposed to be comic book games, but we got called out on it. Yeah. It was mostly superhero stuff, but there wasn't really too much else. God, it was so good.
Oh, yes.
So good.
So tons better than Batman vs. Superman.
It's so sad. And again, for me, the sadness is the amount of potential that movie had.
Right.
Just lost.
Well, like, they are... You can see how desperate they are trying to rush everything into that movie.
They should stop. I don't think anybody would give a shit if we don't get to a Justice League movie for another 5 to 10 years. As long as you're telling good stories on the way, nobody cares. And if you want to jump into that, that's fine. Don't make it so goddamn convoluted.
Exactly.
Like that I haven't. No, but I might as well have. I saw the Nostalgia Critic review. I've seen a couple other people's reviews. Like, I've basically seen the whole movie, and they all pretty much say the same things. So it's not just like a couple people bitching. There's some really massive flaws in that movie, and it basically sounds like they took like 3 or 4 different storylines and tried to shove them all in one movie, which is a mistake.
Well, and even so, like, there were so many wasted opportunities in that movie, like, and I'm going to jump right towards the end, because, I mean, we all know, we all know Doomsday was in the movie. Yeah.
Warner Brothers spoiled that for everybody.
Exactly. Doomsday, that scene where Doomsday was, where Lois, for whatever reason, well, I get what she did it, but it was kind of stupid. Mm-hmm. She threw the spear into the water.
Right.
It seemed kind of random. I don't know why. I mean, I when you think about it, it's like, okay, I get why she's doing this, but then at the same time, it's like, that's kind of random. Why are you doing this? And I was watching Black Nerd. I can't take credit for this, but Black Nerd mentioned this, and he made a really good point, because the cameos for the other Justice League members was all on video.
Oh, that's right. That's where this came from.
Right. And so, when she's trying to get the spear, Aquaman could have come up and given it to her, and they could have just given each other a look or something.
That's almost literally what they do in How It Should Have Ended.
Exactly, I saw that.
I finally saw it.
Yeah,
that was so funny.
And it's like, that would have been great. And then Flash already had his thing with the supposed dream sequence, which I happened to miss because I went to the restroom, and I was like, okay, dialogue scene with Bruce and Diana. Okay, I am going to go run to the restroom. I came back, and all of a sudden Flash is there saying something. I'm not showing what, because I'm like, what where did this come from? So there's that. Cyborg is about the only one that would have made sense on video.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. But not this movie.
No.
Not this movie. Oh, so good. Go see it if you haven't seen it yet. Don't be like me and wait a week because your schedule just didn't happen to work it out.
Find a way.
Yeah, find a way.
Call into work, call in sick. Tell them you have an excuse from us.
Tell your kids to go to bed early. Mm-hmm. Don't matter if they can't be supervised when they're only 4 years old. Just go.
Yeah, we take no responsibility for that one, though.
I took my kids to the movies, though, so that's fine by me. They're starting to swear a lot more in these movies. You noticed?
Yeah,
they're dropping a lot more shit bombs.
Yeah, well, I know your kids are a little younger, but mine, he's about to hit 10 this year, and I'm just like, well, he can watch it. It's funny because he doesn't like it when I curse, but then he thinks it's hilarious.
I was gonna say his daddy is quite the potty mouth around him as it is, so I'm sure he's used to it. I don't swear around my kids.
I didn't for the longest time, and then finally he got to an age where he was like, don't say bad words, don't say, and he still does that to me. Even though I let him watch AVGN, and
stupid is still a bad word in our house. Like, that's where we're at.
I filter those, by the way. I don't let him watch every episode.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, I can't.
Just some of the ones.
Well, there's some of them that just really bad, like the plumbers don't wear tie one.
Well, yeah, you don't want him watching that game in general.
Right, exactly.
He's gonna throw his DS in the garbage. This is what games become. Why didn't you tell me, Daddy? Why didn't you tell me?
But no, Captain America: Civil War was a freaking awesome movie, and this is the sad thing. They have both. I didn't want to do the comparisons, but I have to. You can't help it. Right. Okay, Batman versus Superman had what, 2 action scenes? Well, again, you haven't seen it. Batman
versus Superman like it had 2, yes.
2 action scenes in the whole movie. There was a lot of exposition, and that's just like, okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. In this one, all the action scenes were dispersed evenly.
Yeah.
There was dialogue, then there was action. Mm-hmm. There's dialogue again.
Like some heavy dialogue at times, man.
Right, but I mean, they still managed to keep it interesting,
Yeah. Well, maybe not for my 5-year-old. He was like, ugh. He was like crawling all over me.
Like,
what are they gonna over my wife?
What are they gonna fight?
Yeah, once they fought, he was up again.
Yeah, that airport scene. Oh my god,
just amazing. Like, it's when you think that they can't top the Chitauri invasion of New York, somehow they always do.
Right,
it's crazy.
And that's the thing. They just a quick side note, by the way. Mm-hmm. I did not know the guy from Kick-Ass was Quicksilver.
That was Kick-Ass himself?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
I did not know that, but he's not in this movie, so let's move on.
He's very dead. Spoilers for the last one.
But Scarlet Witch is.
She is.
Which I was happy with.
Yes, hooray.
But
the not annoying Olsen.
Yeah, exactly. The whole airport scene, like, I was really afraid it was going to be overrated,
Right, like they wasted all their spots in the trailer.
Right.
No.
But it's like when I told you last week, I was like, they did all they can to keep that under wraps, because did you notice that they CGI'd they edited out Spider-Man in the commercials?
I'd have to go back and watch now.
Yeah, if you watch the commercials, he's edited out, like, when they're running towards each other and everything.
Oh, that's right. He was in that scene, huh?
Yeah, and then when they have that lineup and everything,
right,
Spider-Man's
he's in the
there.
lineup. That's right. I didn't even think about that.
And he stands out like a sore thumb.
Right. Because they want you to know he's in the movie.
Right, exactly. But
he's that Spider-Man you've been waiting for.
Yeah, which he was great. That was
my favorite, probably my favorite Spider-Man of all time. Like, that's been on a screen. Right?
I mean, okay. After watching Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, mm-hmm. I did like Andrew Garfield as opposed to Tobey Maguire. Mm-hmm. I actually, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, but I actually think the Amazing Spider-Man movies are better than the
second one?
The second one, no, okay. The second one is my favorite of that, the Tobey Maguire trilogy.
Yes, that's what I meant. The second Amazing Spider-Man, though?
Second Amazing Spider-Man is not as good as that.
It's
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
It has its flaws, but I actually like that film myself. Again,
I liked Gwen Stacy.
She was great.
She was so good.
I hate that they killed her off. Another spoiler. Hate that they killed her off at the end of the second movie. I know it happens. I know it happens in the comics, but wait. Well, I mean, now there's not going to be a third movie, so. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I did like Andrew Garfield, but I did like this kid. I did think he talked a little too much, but then again,
I did. I was like, that's Spider-Man. This is
right,
Spider-Man.
Exactly.
he's talking over everybody. He's talking the whole time. Everybody's telling him to shut up.
They're like, you're not supposed to talk this much over a fight, kid. Or when he's talking,
Oh, really? Okay.
that line that nobody ever talks about is when he's like trying to read them Miranda rights. It's like, you have the right to remain silent, and anything can be said against you in a court of law. I was like, wow, he's really saying this during the fight.
Of course he is.
It was just great. And then Ant-Man, here's the thing.
He cemented in this short little period, the short little cameo that he had in the movie. He cemented myself as one of my top 3 MCU characters.
Right?
I already loved Ant-Man. That was such a good movie.
It was.
But in this, like,
I actually want to watch it again.
Yeah, like his charisma with now working with everybody, like just so good. I love that part where he's going through Tony's armor. He's like, this is your conscience. We haven't talked in a while.
Right.
So he's like ripping out all the pieces and all the wiring and stuff.
I just like Tony. He's like, there's something inside me.
Who's talking to me?
That whole bout, I was having a hard time, like, who do I want to root for more, Spider-Man or Ant-Man? Because like both sides have their own insect, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's true, huh?
Yeah, and Spider-Man, I want to say he stole the show, but Ant-Man came pretty close.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
They were
the
nailing
best.
it.
They were
every
the best
line.
thing of that whole fight was the two of them.
And I like that they had so much interaction with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
with everybody else.
Right.
Like it wasn't just like, here's Spider-Man, here's Ant-Man, okay, fight. Like when they brought Ant-Man in on the van.
Like, and
he's like checking out Tony's muscles. He's like, whew.
Yeah,
right.
he was geeking out.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping there'd be a little more of Ant-Man in there, but then I had heard recently this week, I can't remember what I was listening to this week, where I heard that they wanted to actually have Wasp in there too, but they said that they wanted to give her
They gotta
more.
save her for the movie, yeah, for Ant-Man too.
For Ant-Man, Wasp, Ant-Man and Wasp.
Uh-huh.
So I'm pretty excited about that, but I was like, yeah, that would have been cool, but I can see why they didn't do it.
Yeah, no, not yet. That's not a good way to introduce her.
Right. Oh, and we haven't even started talking about Black Panther.
Black Panther?
Yeah, Black Panther. Did I say Black Panther?
Black Panther?
Black Panther.
Black Panther Man.
Yeah. No, he was amazing.
He was awesome. Like he was the one I wanted to see more of.
Yeah,
like kind of getting like you don't really get too much into his character. Like his whole character for the most of the movie is just kind of vengeance,
right?
And then dealing with the fact that him witnessing everybody else's downward spiral into vengeance makes him kind of pull himself back up before it's too late.
Right.
But like aside from that, you don't get too much of his personality. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to see more of him.
Yeah, well, just like Jadine, he doesn't fuck around.
No.
That scene in the airport where I love this line. It's such a basic line, but when Hawkeye's like, "Haven't met yet. Name's Hawkeye." I don't care. Like that was like one of the best lines. Is like
so good. That and when Black Widow's waiting for him at the limo. And one of his bodyguards is like, she's like gonna try and kick her ass, and he's like, as much as I'd like to see that, she's okay.
Right, they're trying to get her in a new movie too. And sadly, I do not know who the actress is, but apparently a lot of people are excited for her to be in the movie.
The bodyguard lady?
Yeah,
I forget what they're called. I just watched a video about it, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, apparently she's going to be in the movie. They don't know what role she's going to play yet, but I guess we'll see.
Oh, you mean Black Widow?
No, not Black Widow. I wish she was getting her own movie.
The bodyguard?
With the bodyguard. She's going to be...
he's supposed to have those in the comics. There's 2 of them, actually, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to do with the character. And I have this feeling because I was listening... Sebastian Stan, who plays Winter Soldier... Mm-hmm. The guy with the metal arm? He apparently has a 9-movie contract with Marvel.
Yeah, Winter Soldier's big business, man.
Right, and so I have a feeling he's going to be in the Black Panther movie, especially with the
the way it ended,
the end credits.
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot.
Right.
I have a feel. I actually have a feeling that him and Captain America will be in the movie.
That'd be good.
So,
yeah.
Which would be interesting. I don't know. I hope it's not something that's going to overshadow. I would see Winter Soldier more than Captain America, though. I mean, Captain America's kind of like, because he's so big himself. You know, that I could see him maybe doing a small role, maybe not even in the Captain America uniform, considering the ending and whatnot. But I can see Winter Soldier playing a big role in that movie.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, and since it's coming out in 2018,
Black Panther? It's next year, I'm pretty sure.
No, I think it's 2018.
Can't be, because it's before Infinity War 1, I believe.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure. Research.
We're about to find out. But yeah, I can totally see him.
Doctor Strange coming out, and then Guardians 2 is on the way.
Yeah, speaking of
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that now, and I'm looking forward to a lot more Aunt May. Marissa Tomei. If you're listening to this, call me.
Yeah, I'm sure she is.
Yeah, I'm sure she's. Hey, we all know she takes her time out of her day to listen to two guys talk about video games, which we're totally not talking about right now.
Who has time for video games?
Right, exactly. Well, I found an article on a Black Panther. No, it's 2018.
Different? Really?
Yeah. So, which is sad. I have to wait that long.
Well, we all have to wait. There's just so much that needs to come out. So now Doctor Strange, he's going to be interesting in his own right, and then again, they're going to have to yank him out of his own movies and put him in with everybody else.
Right.
That's going to be massive. The Guardians haven't even met the Avengers yet. That's got to happen.
Right.
Oh, and I can't wait for Rocket Raccoon to meet everybody else.
Oh my god! That's another that and Ant-Man. Like when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, you know, I thought. No, I wasn't sure just because I didn't know what it was, but it looked like a funny movie to me, and I was like, okay, I want to see this, and I ended up loving the movie. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But then Ant-Man came out, you know, the following year, and I felt like not a lot of people agree with me, but I felt that Ant-Man was last year's Guardians of the Galaxy.
I would take that. But again, that's my other of my three favorites. So right now my three favorites are Star-Lord, Ant-Man, and Spider-Man. With that short little bit that he had in the movie, Spider-Man won me over. He did so well. But yeah, those are my three favorite heroes right now, I think.
Yeah. So, you know, I have to ask you, by the end of it, are you Team Cap or Team Iron Man?
Team Cap.
Same here.
Team Cap. I can't. No, I would not.
Despite how messed up that reveal was at the end, like I was like, okay, where are they going with this? Because they keep showing it, so I'm like, okay, it's gonna play something important in the movie, you know. And
the video.
Yeah, because they showed it like 3 times, didn't they?
Yeah, and I was like, okay, and each time they would show a little bit more, and so like, okay, there's more to this video, but the whole thing about the video is weird, like the fact that it's out in the middle of nowhere, but there is a video, and why does he know about the video?
Right. Well, I mean, he wants what was the bad guy's name?
Zemo. Baron Zemo.
Zemo. Thank you. Yeah, good job, Maverick.
Yes.
I didn't know too much about the character. I still don't know a whole lot about the character, but I like that he was like just like the mastermind and not really like he was like the main villain, but he wasn't really. All he had to do was
he wasn't
like,
the problem. Yeah, he wasn't the problem. He just started the problem.
Right, and he tore the Avengers apart.
Shreds.
Like that's, and then he accomplished his mission. That's what he wanted to do.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so when people are looking at that one part where it says, "Oh, I did all this just to lure you here," it's like, no, you didn't, because because when he says, "I wanted to tear them all apart," you know, he's not just saying, "I wanted to tear Captain America and Iron Man apart."
Yeah, no.
You know, he said the Avengers in general, which he did.
Totally. Like, yeah. So you've got left a team of Avengers who most of them were not. I guess most of them were Avengers for the most part, except for Spider-Man. Now led by Tony Stark, who is just like 2 steps away from crazy.
Right.
That guy is so ruled by his emotions right now.
Well, with
I'm so worried.
Well, and okay, here's the thing. A lot of people... Now, I've not seen Iron Man 2 or 3. Like, I've been wanting to see it. I've not had an opportunity to see them.
Oh, what? You've never seen... Really?
I've not seen 2 or 3. I've seen the first one.
Oh, man.
For the longest time, until Avengers came out, I did not know that Black Widow made her first appearance in Iron Man 2.
Oh, you're like, wow, they certainly are taking a lot of assumptions that I know this character already.
Right. So, I did not know. I'm still not trying to get it spoiled for me, but I guess Pepper left him.
That wasn't in any movies.
That wasn't in any
No,
movies?
that was an in-between thing that happened.
Okay.
She wasn't in Avengers 2 either.
Right.
It's just, I just don't think they're bringing her back. She was probably a bad choice. Speaking of people that are 2 steps away from crazy, like Gwyneth Paltrow.
I don't know. I don't follow her.
She got a cute face, but
I don't follow her much, but sometimes I think she has a tendency to contradict herself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that girl I'm sure they just are kind of like, how can we distance ourselves from her? Does Tony Stark have any other love interests? Can we create one?
That I don't know. I mean, probably. I mean, look at you. Apparently, they're supposed to have like 60 plus characters in Infinity Wars, so who knows?
So awesome.
But yeah, that last fight though with Cap and Tony,
just like trauma.
It was like the whole time I'm like, I don't know who to root for because I like both these characters.
I was more like someone's gonna kill somebody else. Like, it was intense.
Right, and I it's kind of silly, but the reason why I figured nobody... Well, okay, I figured that because I had heard so many things, I knew that nobody was going to die for a couple of reasons. One, the premonition that Iron Man had in Avengers 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good thing to go on.
Okay, so there's that. And then the one thing that's not movie related, but is the whole thing about Sebastian Stan having now 9 contracts.
I didn't think he was gonna die because Cap dies in the comics and Winter Soldier actually becomes the new Captain America for a while.
Right,
so that makes sense.
But
I think Tony Stark's vision is true for the most part. I think Cap is gonna die, maybe a lot of the Avengers in the first movie.
Right. So
and then they got to get a hold of some of the Infinity Stones in the second movie to bring them back. Is the way I think it's going to happen.
You're right. It could happen that way, but until then, I don't know. Unfortunately, my knowledge of the Infinity Stones is limited to Marvel superheroes for the...
Is that a video game?
For the arcade. Yes, it is.
We should talk about video games sometime.
We should probably talk about video games, yes. Because this is getting too comic booky, and we're not a comic book show.
No, we're talking about movies. We should keep talking about cinema and film.
Right.
Do you watch TV, Maverick?
I do watch TV. And I would like to see these characters appear on the TV shows, but now I'm getting ahead of myself.
I would like to see the TV shows appear in the movies, personally.
That too. Which is a possibility.
Yes. Okay. Let's just go back there. Because remember, you had a friend that we got into a big discussion about on Facebook as to why the TV characters aren't going to show up in Infinity Wars.
Really?
Yes. That same friend whose game you unplugged on him once.
Okay, I did not know this was going on.
This was a couple years ago already, when Daredevil season 1 first came out.
Okay, I don't remember this argument, but go for it.
So he was saying that because guys like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and them are all street level heroes, that they're not going to show up in Infinity War because they're not galaxy level or universe level heroes. Somebody else I heard make the argument that while the Avengers and all the really big heroes are going off into space to fight Thanos there, that all hell is going to be breaking loose down on the Earth, and so you're going to need the street level heroes fighting down on Earth at the same time.
Right.
Which then opens up that possibility again for the heroes for hire, or the defenders as they're going to actually be called. So.
And that argument makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not, because why would those characters have to go into space? You know, they have their
what's Daredevil gonna do in space? Like get punched a lot more than usual? Like
I think his senses
very well.
His senses would be off the charts to be like, guys, I don't know what's going on here.
No. But like you can give some of those guys like, you know, some Stark tech to beef them up a little bit more. Right. And they could at least like protect the home front while the Avengers are gone.
Right, and I can totally see that happening. You know, as far as that goes, I honestly, and I don't know, I've heard rumors that the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are kind of what's the guy's name? Kevin Feige? Mm-hmm. I heard a rumor that he's probably trying to distance himself from the whole Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, which I think is kind of a bummer because I liked how the shows were kind of linked, even though I don't know if you watched the show, but season 2... Huh?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, but season 2 barely scratched the surface with Winter Soldier, which kind of bummed me out. You know, it was like, oh no, there's this going on, and that was the end of the episode. And then by the next episode, they were like, Captain America took care of everything. Like, really?
S.H.I.E.L.D.'s gone, but it's not. We are S.H.I.E.L.D. now.
Right. So...
The show is getting good. Problem is... This is turning into a real comic book podcast, or comic book movie podcast, of which there is already one that I listen to. It's fine. The MCU slate had called for an Inhumans movie to come out later on down the road. The Inhumans is basically Skye and the rest of her souped-up friends.
Right. Which, don't tell me anything because I've not seen an episode from season 3.
But you know she has powers now, right?
I know she has powers. I know she's an Inhuman.
Okay, so they look for more Inhumans.
Right.
And that's supposed to lead up into the Inhumans movie. Now that we have Spider-Man, guess what happened to the Inhumans movie?
It's been put on hold.
No, it's gone.
Right, well,
it is gone.
It's off the roster. They're
not making it. Yeah.
It's put on hold, but they're I was watching, again, going back to Grace Randolph because I listen to her a lot, but she had mentioned that...
Sexist.
Huh?
You're so sexist, you man.
Oh yeah, I am. Shame on me. No, she has she's pretty knowledgeable about all this stuff, and she was saying that more than likely it's just going to keep getting pushed back until it's finally canceled.
The movie or the show?
The movie.
I heard it was taken off completely. I didn't even hear anything about a pushback.
Oh, see, I heard it was pushed back.
Oh, I heard it was just removed. If you look at the new slate, like it's not even on there.
I don't know. And I mean, I guess if it's going to be a main basis for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's fine. But I would have liked to have seen some of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. characters appear in the movie, besides the ones that have already appeared. You know,
should.
like...
Yeah. You
like
should
Coulson.
watch.
What?
You should keep watching. It's gotten pretty interesting lately.
Oh, I heard it's gotten really good.
Yeah.
My problem is that I was watching season 2. Life got in the way. I finished season 2 mid-December, and when I tried to go back and start season 3, like 5 of the episodes were already gone.
You're dumb, Life. I think season 3 is on Netflix now, though.
No, it's not.
Yeah, really? Oh.
Yeah, season 2 is on Netflix. That's how I was
we
able
on
to watch.
Season 4 right now?
Nope.
Oh. Okay, never mind then. Well, at least your girl power show just moved to another channel. Mine got 86'd as well.
Which show is this?
Agent Carter.
Oh, did it?
Yes, it is not getting picked up for a third season.
Oh,
pissed.
That sucks.
Especially, and then I go and watch Captain America.
Well, okay. Well, there you go. That's the reason why it's called canceled.
You're not coming back at all.
There's your season 3 right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
How she kicked the bucket.
Senile Peggy in her room reliving old memories. And then that was so sad. I was like, oh, Peggy, they killed her.
I've been wanting to watch Agent Carter, and every time I think I have a chance, something gets in the way. Like, it was on Netflix for a while. I was like, oh, not Netflix, Hulu. Mm-hmm. And I was going to start watching it on there. They took it off. I'm like, oh, okay. Then it appeared on Netflix, and I don't know if it's still on there or not.
I think it is. So is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Because once Upon a Time ends, then I have nothing to watch for the summer.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't rush back to watch that anymore. Sorry.
It got interesting. Okay, last thing, and then we'll get into our main topic. It got interesting, but I don't know where they're going, because they already defeated the main villain, and there's one episode left. And I'm wondering if they're doing what they did at the end of season 3, which is setting up.
Wow, that's it. Oh, wait, so Hades is gone already?
Yeah. So I'm assuming that they're setting up for season 6, and hopefully they're not going to do it on Zootopia, because I will.
I mean, here, let me quell your fears right now. They can't, because they haven't touched on Big Hero 6 yet. Okay, so we're good. We're good, because there's still a movie in the way in between Zootopia, so it's okay. And they might even have to backtrack and get Rapunzel and Flynn Rider in there first. So,
well, they already had Rapunzel in on the show. So
did they?
Yeah, I think season 3. I think they had her. Season 3 or season 4. They had her on there.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, she was on there. Well, you got to remember, season 4 was just Frozen with the Ice Queen.
I guess that's all I remember.
Well, the first half of season 4.
My real big problem for me on that show was that it seemed like they were going down a real interesting path when they included Dr. Frankenstein as one of their characters. And I was like, oh, cool. Maybe they're going to kind of go off into other stories and lore that's not just Disney folk or fairy tales. And then they didn't go anywhere with it.
They kind of did, but they did the Wizard of Oz thing.
Which was weird, but that one still even makes sense to me, because Wizard of Oz was one of those properties that Walt Disney was always trying to get.
Right.
Which is not a really known story, but he was always trying to get those rights. And because of the MGM movie, like, he never could. Like, they were always like, you're never going to make it as well as this.
Right.
So the only thing they were able to ever make was that Return to Oz movie. Yeah, which for some reason most people hate, even though I love it. But
yeah, I like Return to Oz. No, the other one was that
and then
one with
the latest one, right? With,
James Franco.
James Franco. Yeah, which bombed horribly, but they're holding on to it now, even though Walt's been gone for 40, 50 years now. We don't really need that property. I mean, does anybody really care about Wizard of Oz anymore?
I don't know. They kind of played it up a little more this past season.
Such a weird. I don't know. I don't find it as interesting as like Alice in Wonderland, which I think is the most comparable story.
Right.
To
well,
it.
they had their own spin-off, which
did that happen?
Yeah.
I heard it was going to happen, but I never actually saw it.
Once Upon a Time in Wonderland lasted one season, and they only because
I didn't even know it was one episode.
Yeah, no, it was 13 episodes, and apparently it was supposed to be a mini-series, and ABC was like, no, let's make it a series. And so, because of that, and its time slot and everything, they're like, yeah, we're not getting the ratings we wanted, so we're canceling you guys.
Because nobody knows the show exists.
Right. I forgot that the show existed. I'm like wanting to watch it, but,
Yeah.
It's television. What can you do?
Well, what you can do is take some video game properties and try and make them into TV shows and see if that'll work.
Nice segue.
Hey, I got a good setup, so it's all right. So here we are, probably about an hour into the show.
For those of you still listening,
let's talk about the thing that we talked about talking about before we started recording.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to...
Yeah, so... Trailing off of our episode from a couple of weeks ago where we talked about video games that were made into movies on the big screen, many people might not know that many video game properties were made into shows for the small screen as well.
Yep.
Some with varying levels of success.
Some.
Others with not success.
Yeah.
But I don't know how we want to tackle this chronologically, memory, best of, wise, or anything. Let's break it into two categories. How about that?
Sure.
The best, I think, is probably no argument, is animations, cartoons.
Right, of course.
Probably the most widely available. There are some live action things that we can get into. Let's just stick with the cartoons, and the cartoon that has some live action elements in it. Let's stick to cartoons. Barely. Go first. Say a thing about a show that you like.
I'm gonna start off with
or
some of the stuff I barely remember.
Okay.
Let's call it Saturday Morning Starcade, which I even forgot the damn thing existed.
You still have better memories of this than I do.
It was the show that had it had Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., Q*bert, and I was Pole Position part of that? I don't remember.
Shrug.
But I remember Pole Position itself being a cartoon. I remember that was
such a deep, engrossing storyline. Pole Position.
Oh yeah.
How you had to go from the beginning of the race to the end of the race.
Right.
Just
and so
harrowing
they made
the whole way through.
And they made a whole cartoon series about it.
It's such a twist ending too. It's just.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got first place, and sometimes you usually didn't.
Sometimes you just ran out of time.
Yeah, that's what normally.
Actually, that was all the time for me. Yeah, Pole Position. I don't even remember what the show was about. I remember it was a guy and a girl and race cars, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
And a very 80s theme song.
From now on, like your parents were, you are the secret force of Pole Position.
They're moving really fast, they're the only one.
Which, there was a lot of that going on. The Saturday Morning Starcade, I barely remember that either, but I remember it was Mario.
Wait. Oh, hold on. No, okay. Oh, wait, so Pole Position was its own show?
I believe so.
Oh, I thought it was part of the Starcade thing.
I want to say it is, but I'm almost positive it was not, because I remember Pole Position, having its own intro and everything.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm
That's
pretty
funny.
sure. You know what? I have the internet right in front of me.
Well, let's splice it in there if we need to.
But Pole Position. I remember it being a cartoon. Yeah, Pole Position TV series. Yeah, it was its own show.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was its own show, and I don't hardly remember, anything about it.
That's already more than I remember.
The Saturday Morning Starcade. Well, now that I'm on here, and of course the Facebook message comes up that I do not want. All right. Oh, it doesn't even have its own section, and
go off of memory then.
Saturday Morning Starcade. I just remember it consisting of a bunch of shows. I believe Q*bert was among one of them. I know that Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. was one of them. There was. I don't remember much. I remember Mario was in it. Super Mario Bros. Was not Mario's first animated appearance. It was actually that Donkey Kong cartoon.
So were they individual shorts within the show, or were they all working together?
They were shorts within the show. They weren't like they weren't all like in one car. They weren't all in like one cartoon. It wasn't Video Power.
Okay.
Or Captain N. It wasn't any of those shows. There was just their own individual. Excuse me.
What's Captain N?
Never heard of it. We'll
Never
get to
heard
that
of
in a, we'll get to that in a moment.
I was trying to set you up. All right, fine.
But I just remember Mario and Pauline always trying to capture Donkey Kong, and he's always outsmarting them. And then I remember
So he's the roadrunner of the show.
pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. And then Donkey Kong Jr. was its own thing. And I just remember him always yelling, "Monkey muscle." He talked. Donkey Kong didn't talk. Donkey Kong Jr. did. I don't remember him ever appearing with Donkey Kong in it, but I remember he was always hanging around the kid, and he always yelled, "Monkey muscle."
Apparently, he was smart enough to get away from his dad, who was constantly trying to get captured.
Right, exactly. So there was that. And then the big one for that time period for me was Pac-Man. Mm-hmm. I loved that show.
With their round pets.
Yeah, with everything was round.
Everything was round.
I remember just about everything from that cartoon. I remember an episode where he goes back, he gets old, like he goes back forward in time.
Oh,
and he's
like a Pac Van Winkle or something?
Something like that.
Probably called Pac Van Winkle.
Yeah. I remember the bad guy named Mesmeron. I remember the pets, Chomp Chomp and Sourpuss. I remember an episode where he turns into a werewolf.
Breaking boundaries, that Pac-Man show.
Right, exactly. It's like, wow, they did quite a bit with this show for a video game where he just ate dots. They really fleshed out whatever world they built for him. And for the longest time, that was the basis. Like, why can't Pac-Man be like this? I mean, I liked the Maze game. It was my favorite game growing up. But I never understood why it never looked like a cartoon. Oh, how little I knew back then. I didn't find out until a few years ago that Pac-Land was actually based off this cartoon.
I was going to say, what about Pac-Land?
Yeah. And so, like, the American version, apparently the Japanese version has, a different look for the characters. Like, it has that look that that you're used to seeing him in, like in the Namco museums and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But in the American version, they gave him the look of the cartoons.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was a Japanese cartoon.
It wasn't a Japanese cartoon, but the Japanese version of Pac-Land, while it used...
Gotcha. They changed the sprites.
Right, they changed the sprites to make it look, fit more of how he looked in Japan.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but they still use the music,
Right.
The American music and whatnot. So I found that kind of interesting. And then I'm sure there were other cartoons after that, but of course the next one I remember after that was the quote unquote big three: Super Mario Brothers, Legend of Zelda, and Captain N.
Right, if you can even consider Legend of Zelda its own show.
Well, at one point they were actually airing it like as its own thing,
Wow, really?
Yeah, it was like...
I remember that. I remember Fridays with Zelda. That's all I remember.
Right. No, at one point they had it to where it was Legend of Zelda. It was a 30-minute block, but they cut the episodes down to 15-minute episodes.
Oh. Well, excuse me, princess.
Yeah, they thought I guess they thought the show was so bad that whatever unnecessary stuff that they had to cut out to make it 15 minutes long.
Yeah, what a weird show. But we loved it. That Zelda, it was always a weird thing to look forward to, even though it wasn't really Zelda. But like, we loved the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. So like we've alluded to, the Zelda show became the Friday block on the Super Mario Brothers show. So on Fridays, instead of showing a new Mario cartoon, they would show the Zelda cartoon. And up until that point, all we had was Zelda 1 and 2. And so you didn't know much about Link. I mean, we still never really know too much about Link because he's the silent protagonist.
Not in this show.
Not in this show. He's definitely not silent. He's anything but silent.
Or the CDI games, for that matter.
Yeah, so, I mean... So in the first Zelda, he's obviously, this little itty-bitty kind of an elf-looking kid. In the second one, he looks more like a teenager. Not supposedly not the same Link. I don't know. This whole timeline thing's confusing to me.
Right.
Or maybe he is the same Link. I don't know. But he looks more like a teenager. So that's clearly where they drew inspiration for the show. Is from Zelda 2.
Right.
I think he still has this pointy ears, but now he's just like this overly brash and incredibly obnoxious, horny teenager. Like to the point where it's like he would probably be arrested for some of the things that he tried in this day and age.
In this day and age, that show would not fly.
It wouldn't. They did do a good job of balancing out with a Zelda that we've also never seen in the games, because you don't ever see her until the very end. Up until that point, that's always been her big role, is just kind of being the magical princess at the end who you need to save. But here she's very much the Princess Leia.
Right.
Of princesses. She's cocky, she's headstrong, she can actually hold her own in a fight, usually almost better than Link for the most part, until she magically can't fight anymore and Link has to help her.
Right, because writing.
Because reasons, yeah, exactly. But for the most part, she was there to keep Link in his place in all the episodes. She did not need him in the show.
Right?
She could have probably wielded that sword better than he did. Like, that's his only power. His only reason for existing is that his sword shoots magic.
Well, there was an episode where she actually had to use a sword. I remember, but she couldn't shoot the laser. Like where Link, he just became transparent. I don't remember why. So he couldn't hold anything. But yeah, he could walk on the ground just fine.
Cartoon logic.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, she had the sword, and I remember a part where he scares her, and then she starts swinging the sword around. He goes, "You swing that sword like a girl." Like, I am a girl.
Yeah, she was cool. She wasn't afraid to, be herself.
Right, exactly.
So she was good
one of
role
the better.
model. Yeah.
One of the better princesses I've seen on TV.
She was a good representation. And so Zelda would always be hyped up by a preview on the Monday through Thursday Super Mario Brothers show. And it would always, I just remember the music. The music is what will get you pumped, because it was this grand orchestral remake of the Legend of Zelda theme, and that would get you excited.
They did a really good job with that. That's what got me hyped up about the show.
It's that music, man, and yeah, the show usually under-delivered. Remember Ganon was okay, but fairly bumbling, like a Skeletor type, like kind of scary, but fairly bumbling, and just surrounding himself with just the biggest idiots in the world.
Right.
Like, all of his minions were dumb. And so that show was okay. It was weird. There were episodes where, like, the king was trying to build a water slide, and so they had to protect the construction of the water slide. Like, total Zelda stories.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there was not a lot of adventure or exploration in these cartoons, which is what Zelda is all about.
Right.
Like, they always waited for the danger to come to them. So, in retrospect, not that great.
Well, you think that one wasn't constructed very well? Look at Super Mario Brothers.
So this one I have mixed feelings on now. Looking back at it, 25 years later.
Uh-huh.
Because, obviously when it came out, we liked it. So... It's very 90s in the fact that it starts off with, a rap song about the Mario Brothers.
Dear God, yeah, that was the beginning of every intro had to have a rap.
It had to have a rap, but we love the Mario rap. You can't, if you grew up in that era, you don't not love the Mario rap. Like...
Yo, it's the Mario Brothers, and plumbing's the game. Found the secret water zone while working on the drain. Lend the princess a hand in the mushroom land. Turn the action with the plumbers, you'll be hooked on the brothers.
There was an episode where they were in Rap Land.
That's oh man.
Do you remember this?
Welcome to the 90s.
Do you remember that the entire episode was done in a rap?
I do.
I
do, but I do.
Even then, I cringed. It was so dumb.
That's hip hop was the big new thing coming in, and damn it if they weren't going to put it in everything.
I hated that episode. To this day, I hate that episode.
Yeah. So I guess for them, they held a bit more regard for the source material, I think, than a lot of people give them credit for. Like the Marios are plumbers. They get sucked through a drain into a magical world where a lot of things run on their drains.
When the prince is a hand in the mushroom land.
In the mushroom land, yeah. You'll be hooked on the brothers.
Yes.
You will be hooked on the brothers. So there's an evil dinosaur turtle guy who is not Dennis Hopper trying to capture the princess so that he can take over the Mushroom Kingdom. Already, like, leaps and bounds much more like the video game than the movie ever will be.
Right. But somehow his minions also include characters from Super Mario Bros. 2.
Yeah, so this cartoon's heavily inspired by Super Mario Bros. 2, which there's probably still some people out there who don't know that if you lived here in America, the Super Mario Bros. 2 that we grew up with is not actually Super Mario Bros. 2 or even actually Super Mario Brothers. It is a reskinning of a game from Japan called Doki Doki Panic, which is based off of some mascot characters that were short-lived from TV Tokyo or NHK or something like that, because American Nintendo thought that Mario Brothers 2 from Japan was way too hard for us. So this is kind of a double-edged sword for me, because the Mario Brothers 2 game that we got was really good. And what was really cool about it was that it was different from the game before it. You got to play as more characters. You got to go to kind of various lands. You got a bit more abilities with the fact that you could pick up things and throw them. And everybody kind of played a little bit differently, so you could choose what play style you wanted to have. Because the Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2 is basically Super Mario Bros. 1 with the difficulty ramped up to 11.
Right.
And that's all. It is the exact same game, the exact same graphics with a couple extra, items and enemies put in.
And a couple of extra levels too.
Well, yeah, obviously, but it looks exactly the same. Like, it was a very lazy, hastily created sequel, and I think they've even admitted to that later on now. That it was just put out really quickly to make money and profit off of the success of the first one. And so it's this really mixed bag where it's like, well, yeah, it's not the real Mario Brothers 2, but in a sense, it's a little bit better than Japan's Mario Brothers 2.
Well, yeah.
Just because it's different. It pushes Mario a little bit further than just being the same thing again. And, like, literally the same thing again.
Well, if you're interested, because there's actually a very in-depth story on it. I don't know if you listen to Gaming Historian.
Yeah. In fact, I think that's where I got a lot of that info from. Was from him. Yeah,
he there. For anybody, because we're short on time at this point, but for more detailed stuff, I highly suggest looking that up, because it's a really interesting history that they have. But
that guy's channel, everything. That guy's great.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great channel. Yeah. Highly recommend it.
In general, most of the retroware guys are pretty good.
Yeah.
Love them. But Marvel superheroes.
Marvel super. Yeah. How do we get back to this?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, Super Mario Bros. 2. With the show, I didn't like that they mixed the two. That actually really bothered me.
Yes.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that the Mouser was a henchman or a Triclyde or who was the other one? Who were the main three that were always like with him?
It was always Mouser and trying to remember. It was Mouser was the main one. Triclyde would show up every now and then.
Right. I remember a lot more Super Mario 2 bad guys.
Yeah, I mean, there would be a lot of Koopa Troopas everywhere and Goombas.
Right. But a lot of the Mario 2 enemies were more prominent, I felt. And it's
There
like...
was a bit more variety there. Quite honestly.
One thing I have to remember, because, it'll eventually get us into the second half of our topic, but the show was coming off of the late 80s into the 90s. Mm-hmm. And it, what was the point I was going to make? Hold on, I'm trying to remember. Okay, so the show was coming off of the late 80s into early 90s. Cartoons were still at that point where it wasn't a constructed storyline. Every episode was individually,
an individual story.
Yeah, there was no continuity. That's the word I was looking for.
Aha, okay.
And so that wasn't really coming to mind. Why isn't this consistent or anything like that? But looking back on it now and the way shows are today, I would have liked to have seen a little more structure in that sense. I've kind of felt that way about other cartoons too. Inspector Gadget. I think Inspector Gadget had a little bit of continuity for a while. But like He-Man, a lot of people give me shit because I preferred She-Ra over He-Man, and the reason why is because I felt it was a little more consistent with the continuity. Because my favorite episodes of She-Ra were when He-Man appeared in there, because I like to see them working together. But I also like that they kept
the He-Man cinematic universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
I like that they kind of kept that consistent in that they would reference, oh well, yeah, this happened and blah 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 and whatnot. It was so you didn't see that a lot back then, especially back then. So it was nice to have. It would have been nice to have seen that with the Mario games, which is why I always prefer the Mario Brothers 3 cartoon over the original.
You did really like that cartoon.
Yeah, mainly because it followed the source material a lot more closer. The one thing I did hate about both shows was they always had to use music in there.
Don't a lot of TV shows use music?
I mean, like in the original Super Mario show, if you get the DVDs now, you won't hear it, but it was a lot of licensed music. I remember an episode that actually used Thriller, but it wasn't Michael Jackson. It was a woman singing because, a woman singing Thriller sounded closer to Michael Jackson than a man singing it. Yeah. But they used a bunch of, different licensed music that, they can't use now. But it kind of annoyed me because I found it kind of unnecessary for them to do that,
That would take you out, yeah.
It really did.
Didn't make sense in that world.
And then in Super Mario 3 and even the Super Mario World cartoon, they did their own songs, and they were terrible singers. And I think it was the voice actors for the Koopa Kids, to be honest. Ooh. Because that's what they sound like. And I think they only did one song where it was an actual licensed song that they did their own version of. It was which was Great Balls of Fire. But the only other one that I remembered that I thought was hilarious was there was an episode with Milli Vanilli. I don't know if you remember that one.
Wow. I don't really remember too much of those other two Mario cartoons.
Okay, so the Mario 3 cartoons, they actually had, the lands that were based off the games. So that made it more consistent. The characters, I think, from what I understand, the Koopa Kids didn't actually have names around the time they were developing the show. Like, even in Japan, they did not have names. So that's why we have the name differences on the show and in the video games. I don't know how accurate that is, only because like Ludwig von Koopa, for example, he's called Cookie von Koopa, and it's like, okay, there had to be some kind of interaction going on between them when they're naming these guys, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was the point I was going with this?
You were just explaining what they were like.
Yeah, Super Mario 3, they had those, but they also had episodes where they would go back to Brooklyn. Like, they could freely go back home at this point. They never explain it. They're just able to do it.
Wow.
And one episode, the princess goes to a Milli Vanilli concert, and they actually are singing, I think they sing 2 different songs, Girl, You Know It's True and Blame It on the Rain.
Well, are they actually singing the songs, or
Well, you know what I mean.
somebody else singing it for them?
It's whoever actually did the music, but at the time, this was right before the scandal.
Maverick, you know it's true.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I'm not going to say the last part, but anyway. It was right before the scandal. So when I saw this on repeats, it was funny when they would start dancing to their own music, and it would play this generic music from like Captain N.
Wow.
I was like, okay, guys, we need a quick fix. Quick, get one of the songs from Captain N.
We can't
now.
pay for this a second time. And have you heard the story? Did you watch the news? We should probably get rid of this.
Right. And it's funny because Bowser or Koopa, they actually at one point refer to him as Bowser in this version.
Oh, wow.
They call him King Bowser Koopa, but they don't do it all the time. Like Mario occasionally will say, "We got you now, King Bowser Koopa." And it's like, okay, you acknowledged it, cool. But he turns them into accountants. I thought it was the funniest, like
The horriblest of fates.
right. But I mean, maybe they would have been better off if they were accountants,
It could be. Yeah.
But
Never know.
and then when by the time Super Mario World came along, I was already getting, older. I didn't really care for the show that much. Plus, they had changed the look so much, and they got rid of Toad, and Toad was my favorite character.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry. Cancel this shit. Cancel.
But the other show I liked was Captain N.
I didn't. I'm just kidding. I liked it.
I was about to say, you liked that show just as much as I did. Don't lie.
Yeah. And that was, that's that cheap premise of, well, it's a show about video games. We needed a kid in the video game. What if he just gets sucked into the video game?
Right.
He just goes inside the video game.
Before we go into this, we skipped one, and I don't know if you remember it. Video Power. Do you remember Video Power?
Is this a sequel to Starcade?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Video Power was every other day during the weekday was a game show where they would I think they would answer questions, and then they would play a certain game and get to a certain point. If you didn't have a score, you had to have a certain amount of energy as opposed to your opponent. And then you can go through the winner gets to go through a maze and pick up as many games as they can before their buzzer runs out.
No, that reminds me of another show which we can talk about in a second, but
Okay.
no.
So it was that, and then I think every other day after when that wasn't on, it was a cartoon show with all the Acclaim licensed characters, and I don't remember all of them except for Quirk and Kuros from Wizards and Warriors, and the host of the show was the main character of that cartoon, Johnny Arcade.
Weird.
Yeah.
No Bubsy though, huh?
No, dear. Bubsy wasn't Acclaim.
Oh, I was about to say Accord.
No, as Accolade.
Accolade. There we go.
Yeah.
How could I forget?
So yeah, I don't know. That one was the only reason why I was caught it because it was on WGN, and I just happened to catch it when I came home from school.
Oh, that's part of the problem. I never got that channel.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you had it, which remember we thought what a weird thing it was that you got a channel from Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I never had that channel. Quickly though, I don't want to skip over the Captain Lou Albano.
Oh, yes.
Quick, let's just cover it. This will cover the live action portion as well. Those are so weird. So again, if you don't know the show, these Mario Brother episodes were sprinkled with little live action bits of the Mario Brothers, I'm guessing Mushroom Kingdom adventure. And so they're in their plumbing offices and just having all sort of wacky adventures with, special guests of people that were like BC level celebrities at the time.
Hardly even that. I think the biggest celebrity they had on there was Nicole Eggert from Charles in Charge.
You know what? Again, she's on the very first episode on the Netflix thing.
Yeah.
And she comes on and I'm like, I don't know who this chick is.
Oh, yeah, I knew who she was. She was.
I don't know why they're like, hey, what's Nicole Eggert, and she's in our medicine cabinet.
Okay, so for those who don't know, Nicole Eggert was on a show with Scott Baio called
Charles in Charge of our days and our nights.
And she was also on Baywatch. So.
Oh, man. No, don't remember. No, I guess Sergeant Slaughter is probably the most popular person I remember, but I'm sure Captain Lou Albano just talked him into that.
Yeah.
So wrestling legend manager Captain Lou Albano.
Oh, Cyndi Lauper was on the show.
She was. You're right. And again, Captain Lou Albano, like pulling favors from everybody to get on this show, which I think is cool in that it shows that, maybe he believed in it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So that's nice. So he played Mario in the show. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if he voiced him in the cartoon or not.
He did.
Okay.
And only in the first series. He didn't do it in Mario 3 or Mario World.
Oh, okay. And starring comedian Danny Wells, actor Danny Wells as Luigi. He probably did the better job of the two.
Yeah.
But they had a fun dynamic where Mario was kind of the older, slovenly slob brother of the two, and Luigi, they were very much the odd couple, and Luigi was the one trying to keep him in check, make sure they didn't get into any trouble, and trying to keep the place clean.
Yeah.
And they would just have all sorts of wacky adventures in their little basement plumbing office.
It was so generic.
It was so weird. Like one time they got a package delivered and it was like Dracula's coffin.
I remember that. I saw it not too long ago. You must be Mario.
Like,
you must be Luigi. You must be kidding me.
Right? It was all cheesy jokes like that, like canned laughter.
Yeah.
And if any weird actions that they would make, they would punctuate it with sound effects from the video game.
Yep. And they would totally mess around with those sound effects.
Oh, they would use them in really weird places, but I mean they would fit for the show.
Right.
If you never played the game, the sound effects would fit. And then they'd be one at the beginning, one or two in the middle, and then they would finish off. Here's some scenes from this Friday's Legend of Zelda.
Yep.
Here are scenes from Legend of Zelda. And then cap it off with, and this is just where I want to end this conversation, with one of the greatest songs that any video game lover of that era ever grew up on. Do the Mario.
Do the Mario, swing your arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario, take one step, and then again, let's do the Mario all together now.
Captain Lou Albano dancing around on a blue screen, singing about a dance called the Mario. You would, and I quote, swing your arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go and do the Mario. That's the whole dance, I guess.
Yeah.
Just swing your arms from side to side.
Which for the longest time I didn't realize what that was what that dance was the walking animation from Mario. I never knew that's what it was. That was only pointed out to me recently.
Yeah. And of course the song is just the Mario Brothers song with lyrics.
Right.
But it was great, and we loved it.
Yeah. The guy who voiced Inspector Gadget was on that show too.
Oh, that's right. Yes. God, how do I forget his name? I forgot his name.
I never knew his name.
Yes, him, the guy from Get Smart.
Yeah.
I'm always on duty.
Yep, I think he was Inspector Gadget on the show.
The guy from Get Smart?
Yeah, like he played.
Like he played Inspector Gadget?
He played Inspector Gadget. I'm not sure.
Brilliant. I gotta watch the rest of those episodes.
That produced the show, so why not? You know.
Deke.
But yeah, so
Captain N was the other big one.
Yeah, and despite how inconsistent it was, I can't help but love the show.
It was good. That's one, though, where their princess was completely hapless and kind of worthless and very made up.
Yeah.
For the show. Like, she's just, what is a video game princess like? Well, she needs to be saved a lot. And... yes.
Yeah. No, what I like about the show... I mean, I hated it back then, but what I like about it now is how inconsistent it was. So, yeah, you know me, inconsistency.
This Superman game doesn't use the music from the show.
Right, but you know how I love consistency. I think its charm was in the fact that it did not have consistency,
at all.
Meanwhile, on the planet Metroid, really, it's an S. You couldn't look this up. I even knew that way back then.
Well, I mean, you could take it in the sense that they're on the planet of the game that they're from.
Right.
It's like the Kingdom Hearts of its day.
Perhaps. I mean,
I'm sorry, that's not my biggest problem. Simon Belmont is my biggest problem with that show.
Yeah, we'll get to him in just a second because
we don't have to.
We got to get to the fact that the lands and everything, the land of Castle. I think the only world they ever got right was Hyrule. That's it.
Yeah, which how could you not? I guess.
Right, but then
you couldn't call it Legend of Zelda World. Zelda. Right. I guess you could have just called it Zelda.
Mount Icarus. I was like, okay, definitely not the Kid Icarus.
Did we?
Megaland. Okay, it's called Monstropolis.
I don't know that.
At least in
the
US
version. Roboland.
Yeah, no. In the American version, the very first game, they refer to it as Monstropolis. So they could have gone with that title. I don't know why it was called Monstropolis. Me being a kid thought it was called Monster Police. I'm like, and I was like, okay. But and then of course, in the land of Castlevania, it's like, wouldn't it be Transylvania?
Or just call it Castlevania.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just found it hilarious. I remember an episode where his biggest weakness was not being able to get to Bayou Billy.
Isn't that all of our biggest weaknesses?
Yes, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. But what I like is when they show him, Mother Brain is studying him. She's looking at something. I don't think they even remember if they even showed what she was looking at. But they show the live action clips of him playing with the controller and everything. And they show this very generic pixelated Bayou Billy running across and getting eaten by alligators and whatnot, and it looked nothing like the game.
There was no game capture machines back then, sir. It was impossible. Just impossible.
Right, I doubt that.
They worked with the graphics that they had. They sent that episode over to ILM to get it as accurate as possible, and this is what we get.
Right. And I remember her saying, that's his weakness. He can't get out of the bayou.
My only memory of that episode was that there was a warp zone inside of a tree stump.
I don't remember that.
There was a warp zone inside of a hole in this chopped down tree stump. And they were trying to get to it.
Man, I don't remember that.
But that's it.
I remember there was one 2-part episode. And it was early on in season 1.
What was that about?
It's called... I know these are fresh in my mind because I just recently showed them to my son. Mm-hmm. It's called Mega Trouble in Megaland. And
okay.
They were basically having an Olympics type event and whatnot. Mm-hmm. but the whole purpose was to steal the 3 sacred treasures from Mount Icarus.
The 3 Sega treasures. Now they're really crossing platforms.
Right? And they succeed. They end up winning, and they take over. Like, everybody takes over their respective world, except for King Hippo, for whatever reason, takes over Mount Icarus. I was like, shouldn't you be?
Is Little Mac even on the show?
No.
There you go.
So that would have been interesting.
King
Yeah.
Hippo, you go take over boxing world.
That's probably what they would. No, they're probably in the land of Punch Out.
Yeah.
But
Punchtropolis.
yeah, it's just. Oh, and then the second part was called Mega Trouble for Megaland. I think. Wait, didn't I just say that? Yeah.
It's as memorable as the last name, I'm sure.
I'm sure I said it twice because we're doing this late in the evening. But anyway, so then it ends on that, and then so the second part they're actually going like the main characters, Kevin, Lana, and Mega Man and their dog. Can't remember the dog's name.
Sparky. Spark.
Spot. I don't
Spot.
know.
Select.
I don't know.
Contra.
Captain N's dog. Duke. That was his name.
Ow.
Yeah.
That's why you're on the show.
It takes me a moment. They go through Cutman's level, and I remember they die. They start over again. They get to that area where it's supposed to be like the boss door, and if you remember the first Mega Man, you actually have to fight enemies in those doors. So what they did to condense it down is they put all the boss characters in that door.
Damn. That's hardcore.
And they all die with one shot.
Of course.
And then Cutman comes out with the best line ever. Cutman's the name, cutting's my game, and I don't mean hair. Yeah.
90s,
Anyway.
folks. This was a weird hodgepodge of different games. So obviously you had your main character, who is the hapless youth who gets sucked into a game. 'Cause that's what happens, because he's so good that the game wants him to help them. Princess Lana sucks him in. So
Technically, it should have
so
been
he's like your
sucked in-
typical teenager. He's running around with a Letterman jacket, white kid, but he's really good at video games, but a Letterman jacket. I've never met this kid before in my life, but
Looked like a jock.
he was a total jock, but apparently he's very good at video games, which is, I think, what America wanted back then.
I want
Sort
to
of
interview the guy
Renaissance.
who played the live action.
Live action, Kevin.
Yeah.
Where is he now?
If you're listening to it, if you're listening, contact us.
We will totally do a show with you. Absolutely. That would be cool.
But
So he gets sucked into video game land by this generic princess who, I guess, but she's just like the princess of like all video games in general.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, you never know. She's just a princess, and video games, you gotta have a princess, I guess, is the logic there. And so yeah, like you mentioned before, his dog gets sucked in with him, sure, and then he surrounds himself with some other video game characters: Kid Icarus, Mega Man, and Simon Belmont. These are more or less not known as characters that have any sort of personality written into them as far as the game is concerned. We don't really know much more about them other than they walk right and shoot things or whip things. So what do you do in this instance when you have characters with weird names like this and you need to give them a personality?
Oh God!
What do you do?
You make Simon Flamboy. You make Simon Belmont flamboyant.
You make two of them just insert their name into everything they say, and the other one just fucking throw darts at a board full of names and words and descriptions, and that's who that is.
Yeah, that. I was so disappointed when I saw Mega Man.
I mean, he's okay, and Kid Icarus is okay for what you have to work with. If you're like some 35-year-old dude working on cartoons who doesn't really play video games, they're okay looks-wise. Mm-hmm. But when their entire personality is just based on the fact that they insert pieces of their names into all the words that they say,
that's a mega bummer.
It really bums me out a kiss.
Yes, it does.
And that's their whole person. I mean, okay, so Kid Icarus is kind of a wimp, I guess, is his other personality trait because he's little. Mm. And Mega Man is angry.
He's strong.
Sometimes he's strong.
He's super strong, and he sounds like Popeye.
Yeah. And so Simon Belmont, a character from a game that I lauded for being an homage to classic Universal monster movies. He's mostly known for being part of the Dracula story, basically, which we all know takes place 1500s.
Right.
This guy looks more like... Describe him, please. I don't want to do it.
He's Vanity Smurf is what he is, with a little more arrogance.
Oh, that is
with
brilliant.
A lot more arrogance.
That is brilliant.
That's what he is.
Vanity Smurf dressed like Launchpad McQuack.
with a whole slew of arrogance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and his whip is alive.
His whip has a mind of its own.
It has a mind of its own, and it's got some sass, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So this is one of the few shows where I feel like the villains were written way better than the main characters.
How so? I think the only interesting one I found was Dr. Wily.
Oh, I meant, yeah. I mean, he was okay. But the main three villains, fairly decent. So Mother Brain, weird, okay, but you're not going to go like scary sci-fi on that. Making Mother Brain Little Richard, odd, but it made the character entertaining.
Yeah, it did.
Like, just because like they went full blown like super naggy.
Well, and then don't forget that she was voiced by the same person who
Like
voiced
Mom.
the plant in Little Shop of Horrors.
Pretty sure not the same. Okay, but yeah, so
Same person who sadly passed away recently.
Yeah. So not exactly Audrey 2, but very close. And then her henchman, our King Hippo, as you mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. Okay, I guess he's got some things, and the eggplant wizard.
Yeah, because
some of you might remember from Kid Icarus.
I just remember him being very annoying in the game.
Yeah. But they were still, like... They were more fun to watch, because, like, King Hippo and Eggplant Wizard would constantly bicker with each other. Because Eggplant Wizard was also kind of like a goofy, impish fool, and King Hippo was kind of like this big doofus, like, muscle-bound idiot. And then they were both constantly getting ragged on by Mother Brain. So they had a fun dynamic, at least.
Right.
I'm not going to say they're video game accurate in any way, but again, there was nothing to base it on in the first place, except that, King Hippo don't like to be punched in the stomach, which never worked its way into the show anyways. But aside from that, like, we didn't know much about them.
And he was blue.
He was blue. Maybe their TV was on the fritz when they were doing their research. You never know. So they were at least fun to watch. Them main characters, like, the only redeeming feature was that Kevin had a zapper and a magic controller.
Yeah.
That was all that was fun to watch about them. They were not interesting at all.
Yeah.
The Simon Belmont thing is just a hard pill to swallow. Like, I just can't stand that. Couldn't stand that. I tried to trick myself for a while and being like, yeah, I guess it's okay. It's a Simon Belmont, sure. Just no. I can't do this.
Yeah, well, in the end of the day, I ended up liking it. I accepted it for what it was, mainly because at that time, we didn't have a whole lot. I mean, it sounds like we had a lot of cartoons based off video games, but, Nintendo was at the peak of their popularity at the time with the original system.
That's the big thing right there.
You know, and so there's a reason it lasted 3 seasons.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there wasn't much to go on, and it was the only cartoon that literally incorporated almost every single Nintendo property you could think of in one show. It was the Wreck-It Ralph of its day.
Pretty much. I mean, they even were able to get some other licenses in there, you know?
Yeah.
But season 2, I think, was a better season for the most part. But then there's season 3. What the hell happened?
Shrug. I have no idea.
Oh my god. There was an episode where they were... Because apparently what I was reading was they lost a lot of... or they cut the budget for the show. So they simplified a lot of the animations, which they simplified it too much because they all looked far worse than they... You know... You think the characters looked bad back then. I mean, they looked even worse on this show. Like, I can't watch the 3rd season.
Oh, wow.
On top of that, they're shorts, so they're like 15 minutes long as opposed to being a 30-minute episode like they used to be. Oh. And Mega Man and Simon, well, I'm not complaining about Simon too much, but Mega Man, all characters that weren't Nintendo characters were reduced. Their roles were reduced on the show.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, they had some creative, not on season 3, season 2 especially had some creative episodes. Like, I didn't think that they could make it into an episode out of Tetris, which they did, and it was actually not the best, but it was pretty entertaining. But you get to season 3, and you got ideas like, they're in the land of Hoop Dreams. I don't know if anybody remembers that game. Do you remember Hoop Dreams?
You couldn't at least go all the way for like Double Dribble or something?
No, they went with Hoop Dreams and Hoop the Loop the Day or something like that. It was so bad. I cringed. And on top of that, I don't remember the name of the basketball player, but he actually lent his voice to the show.
Wow.
Like, well, that's where all your budget went, no matter your animation sucks.
Oh, that's terrible.
So the 3rd season was really bad. It was like, yeah, I'm kind of glad it got canceled after that because you were just going downhill from there.
There was nowhere else to take it.
I remember an episode where they went to the land of Final Fantasy. They went nowhere with that one too. So I think Mega Man was the main character for that, the central character for that episode.
Oh, because that makes sense.
Right, exactly.
Because he's from the future.
Yeah, I don't even think they had any of the characters like Chaos or Garland or anything like that, or even the Four Fiends.
Hey, look, it's Monk.
It's that guy. Oh, look, it's Goblin.
Hey, Red Mage. Let's be friends.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
It's too bad. Mega Man got to redeem himself, though.
Yes, he got his own cartoon. Not a bad one either.
This is the cartoon that I constantly quote in order to convince my kids that Mega Man is not a kid in a robot suit, but is in fact just a super fighting robot.
Mega Man.
Mega Man. Because they still think he's a person, and because he's got hair. And I'm like, no, he's just a robot that can take off his helmet. He is super fighting robot Mega Man. Says so right in the show.
Side note: if you try to find us on YouTube, there's supposed to be a Mega Man. It's from Japan. It's a special Mega Man. Like, it's supposed to teach kids about, I don't know if it's culture in Japan or culture in general. But yeah, it's a little entertaining. It's based off Mega Man 5, and they actually call him Mega Man, even though it's Japanese. I was surprised they didn't call him Rockman. Interesting. But yeah, if you ever want them to see that, you know.
There's a lot of that in Japan, honestly. Like, just shows teaching you about just like general courtesy and stuff like that. Like stuff that we could use here. Probably.
Stuff that would
Yeah.
be nice here, but that'd probably be everyone would be too PC about everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Telling me what to do. You.
Right.
Tell me what to do. Get out of the seat for an old lady. That old lady.
Yeah, no, that lady can stand.
She can sit and spin. That's right. That's where she can sit.
Yeah, no, we definitely need those manners, those things to show off mannerisms. But Mega Man, yeah, no, that was a good cartoon. I looking back at it now, it not great, but I mean, like for what they worked with, I mean, they did a pretty good job. I mean, it was entertaining. It kept me hooked. And by that time, I was a teenager. But I was more accepting of this Mega Man because it had more of an anime look, even though now I look at it, it's not so anime-ish.
Right.
And despite not keeping in line with the stories, I mean, they did try to bring elements of the stories into it, of course, especially the first episode. But there was even a crossover with Mega Man X.
Right. Yeah, he meets X.
Right, and they had
hulking
Vile,
robot.
Spark Mandrill. So that was interesting.
And Roll can change her hand into a vacuum.
Yeah. Roll always getting
handy.
herself into trouble.
Curls.
And then of course, ruff, mega. messages. Yeah. Roll or not roll, Rush. Yeah. That was I have the Mega Man Anniversary Collection for the PS2, and one of the bonuses there is the first episode.
That is a bonus.
Yeah,
That's
and
pretty
I
good.
was like, cool. It's the pitch of the audio is up quite like a notch or two, but it's still entertaining to watch, and you just have to beat like Mega Man 7 to unlock it. But you only have to beat the hardest Mega Man game known to man.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, I think that was one.
Easy.
Either that or you had to do something in Mega Man 3. I couldn't remember.
Speed run.
So yeah, and that was actually one of the because Capcom had 3 series out around that time. There was Mega Man, and then we had Street Fighter.
Yes.
Which was based off the movie.
Yes. God.
And despite it not really following the Japanese storyline and more the movie, I did enjoy it more. Yeah,
It did try to right the ship a little bit.
Right.
A little bit.
But I mean, at the end, it was pretty entertaining, and of course, clearly it was very Americanized.
Very.
Changing Guile to the main character.
Of course. At least he looked like Guile from the game and not Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Not Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? And then they had Ken be the one to defeat Akuma.
Because that's going to happen.
Right. So, I don't know. I remember the second season ending on a cliffhanger. Because, didn't Cammy leave both groups or something like that? Like, she didn't want to join Bison, but then she didn't want to join the Street Fighter.
I don't remember too much of that show anymore to tell you. I might just agree.
I remember it ending on a cliffhanger. It's like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next. And they never came out with a third season.
There is no next.
Yeah. Oh, and they brought Sawada into one episode. I remember that.
Good old Sawada. Who can't forget?
Right.
Sawada.
Oh, and then that one episode where Blanca becomes human again.
Does he become Charlie?
Yes. Yeah, you're the one who told me about this episode.
Probably.
I only saw it once. And he didn't have the blonde hair. He had like black hair, and he still had his electric abilities and whatnot. And then he changes back into Blanca at the end of the episode.
You got to reset. Don't need continuity.
Right. So
Yeah.
Street Fighter, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a bad show.
It was okay.
Right. But of course, the one that tops them all is the one that starred Harry.
Harry's Adventures in Darkstalker Land.
Pretty much, yes. That show.
This is this scrawny little nerdy kid hanging out with these very, very dangerous monsters, going out on missions.
And I don't remember much about this show, believe it or not.
I remember Harry, for some reason, got to live with Felicia, and I was like, why him?
Right. Why couldn't it be you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
Although
remember...
she was much more covered up than the Felicia in the games.
They were all covered up. Look at
Yeah.
Morgan.
Yeah.
And Morgan wasn't more... to this day, I don't know if Morgan's a good guy or a bad guy or like an anti-hero.
In the show or just in general?
In general.
She's probably a bit of an anti-hero.
That's what I was thinking. I know on the... I know on the cartoon show she was one of the bad guys.
Right.
So, and then I remember Donovan, always being such a prick. I remember Cinco, or Lele, whatever you want to call her, being the same way, although she was a little more understanding. Excuse me.
Wow, of all people?
Yeah.
Cutesy Poos.
Huh?
Cutesy Poo Cinco is a prick?
Well, she was going after the Darkstalkers for the same reason Donovan was.
Oh, well.
Except that Donovan had, what's her name? Anita? Mm-hmm. So there was that. But yeah, I remember when that show first aired. I just happened to catch it on television the day it premiered.
I feel the same way about both shows. Like, we didn't know they were coming, and they just kind of dropped.
Right. At least Mega Man, we kind of got a little forewarning on that one, but
Not Street Fighter and the other one, yeah.
Street Fighter came out of nowhere, and Darkstalkers came out of nowhere. And I just remember Felicia being followed by this beam of light. I guess they were trying to capture all the characters that would have been... They were going to try to establish who was going to be good and who was going to be bad, basically.
Yeah.
So I remember that. And I remember, and maybe this was like the season 2 finale or whatnot, but I remember Harry all of a sudden getting this magic and getting all buffed up and everything. And it's just
Harry.
so stupid.
It's so dumb.
But again, those shows did have its charm, and I think I want to say that the ending to Darkstalkers, I know the ending to Darkstalkers used the same song that they used for the anime and also for the PlayStation, the cut PlayStation intro, Trouble Man, which I did not know was even though it's all in English, I did not know was a Japanese song. Like, I didn't know until years later because I did not notice the guy's accent till years later. But he and I love that song, by the way.
Yeah.
But I remember the ending apparently was supposed to use like some of those clips that were supposed to be in the PlayStation opening. And the PlayStation opening never made it, although it's hidden on the disc. I don't know why they just didn't use it.
Because it's Capcom and they're getting practice ready.
Yeah, but that compressed clip that they had in there probably could have been removed, and then it wouldn't have had the animation problems that it did, because that's a game that had almost all the animations in there, unlike later Capcom games on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And by the time you got to Pyron, the whole game would slow down. Like, you could not recover from it. You had to reset the game because the whole game would just slow down.
Ew.
Yeah, it was a big problem. I was so bad I called Capcom about it.
That'll learn them.
Yeah, and at the time I was like, do you guys know this is happening? Like, I don't know if my game's defective or what. I actually even returned it because I thought it was a problem, but it was a known issue that they never fixed.
Oh.
Yeah.
They should hire some people to do bug testing.
Yeah, right? I'm pretty sure they knew about the problem.
Yeah. That Harry really ruined that for me.
Yeah, he stuck out like a sore thumb.
Terrible. Just, they didn't need him at all. They could have just done a story through the Darkstalkers, but I guess they always feel like you have to have like this suburban kid to like relate to. Like the show can't just be about the Darkstalkers. It would have been so much more fun to just do a show that didn't take place in the real world, have it take place in like a monster world,
right?
And just make one of the Darkstalkers the main characters.
Yeah, which could have been Felicia or Morgan.
Sure.
So, or because I mean, Dimitri always came off to me as a bad guy. Even in the anime, he was, this big bad guy. You know.
Right.
So
yeah.
I never saw him as the good guy.
No.
But yeah, they could have done something different with it. I mean, it was one of those shows I enjoyed for what it was. When I saw the anime, of course, the anime blows away the cartoon series out of the water. But yeah, it's but they all make use of the same song, Trouble Man.
Stuck on that Trouble Man.
I love that song, dude.
We don't need no Harry though.
No, we don't need Harry.
Don't need no Harry.
No, not at all. But yeah, so for any of you guys who don't know, so side note for any of you guys who don't know, if look it up on YouTube because they have it on there now. But there is an opening for Darkstalkers that uses that song. It was like clips, a mixture of like game clips with the original intro, and it just uses that song. And I knew about this way before because
you're a hipster.
Yeah, because I'm a hipster. No, I back when I was first messing around with PCs and whatnot, there was this program where you can actually rip videos off of PlayStation discs, and that's how I found it.
Ooh, you were hacksaws.
I was trying to, but nice. I never took it far. So yeah, we're running out of time, but
we are.
There was one thing I wanted to cover on this whole thing.
Do it.
I guess I could just umbrella everything on there, but I wanted to mainly put it towards Captain N, and that was the idea because everything's getting rebooted nowadays. Jesus Christ. And so I'm thinking if any of these shows kind of deserves a reboot, I would say it's Captain N. Because unlike a lot of these other shows, Mario has its anime counterpart, Mega Man has its anime counterpart, Street Fighter, Darkstalkers, they all have their anime counterparts. I think the only ones that don't have it is Zelda, and of course Captain N wouldn't because that was a very Americanized cartoon. Right. Now, if they were to redo it, update the looks of the characters and everything and try to use the same characters they used before, I would say make it just a little more serious, not try to be funny all the time, but also follow a story arc for each season so you can kind of draw out a lot of this stuff, like, even though you could visit other worlds and whatnot, kind of draw out a story arc that focuses on one world per, based on the character.
Yeah, or at least give them a reason for visiting all these worlds.
Right. So, like, for example, let's say they rebooted this and they start with we'll start with the main world, Metro. God, now I'm calling it Metroid. Zebes, or Zebes, however you pronounce it. The whole first season could take place there. But let's say they have to, hey, we need to recruit so and so from this world, so let's go get them, Yeah. And then they'll jump from one world to world trying to find this, but the main focus would be based off that one storyline of that game. Yeah. I mean, especially now with all they have to work with, I think that a reboot of that show could work.
You can go to like World of Pikmin, WarioWare World.
Right. I mean, they wouldn't even really need to, if they're worried about third-party licensing and all that, Nintendo now has such a vast library of characters to choose from. Yeah. That they wouldn't even need to worry, although I would like to see, like, Mega Man or Simon and Kid Icarus. Oh, well, Kid Icarus would be in there. Yeah. Pit. What am I saying? I would like to see those characters appear on the show. Not Game Boy, though. Game Boy can... it'd probably be 3DS now.
What about the Game Boy character from The Fan, the world famous webcomic
Oh, that
that ran
was,
from 2003 to 2004?
oh, that was the greatest character.
That was a really good. His name was GBA actually, and that was the greatest character ever.
Yes, it was. Next to Wasabi Cat.
Constantly jilted GBA. Nobody wants him.
Not even his creator.
Not even his creator. Nope.
But yeah, I just say build story arcs around them. I mean, I think of what's the word? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, amalgamation.
Amalgamation, yeah, of characters, and then
Amalgamation.
Amalgamation. I think that's the word I'm looking for. I think that they could really work with something here, and get something interesting going on. You know, and Netflix, pick it up. You know,
Not a bad idea. Why don't we put a fork in this? We keep that conversation going next week.
Sure, we can do that.
Let's reboot some video game shows and see if we can do it better. We'll give more ideas out, just like we did with theme parks.
There you go.
Network executives, we just want a little bit of credit and the chance to see our visions come to life. We don't need our millions of dollars. If you want to leave millions of dollars at my doorstep, you can. Just email me later. crossplatformshow@gmail.com.
Yeah, email him.
But
Hear that, folks?
I'll split the difference. Don't worry. Don't worry. You've got nothing to worry about. Would I lie?
I don't know. I don't like the way you're petting your cat there.
It's all good. So yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Sure.
For the time being, this is the show for today. This has been Gaming Tangents Podcast, episode 15. If you want to keep this conversation going, talk about other video game properties that have been made into TV shows that you really liked or really hated, you can tweet at us at CrossPlat Show on the Twitters. We check that quite often. You can even seek us out on Facebook pages. We are Cross Platform Show on there as well. Keep the conversation going. Join our Facebook page. You can email us comments, questions, whatever you want at crossplatformshow@gmail.com. And find us on YouTube. You can listen to all of our episodes in video format on YouTube if that is how you choose to digest them. All episodes are made available there, so any episodes that maybe you have not heard here on the SoundCloud stream, you might be able to find there. We are also on iTunes, and now we're on Google Play as well. So pretty much anywhere where there's podcasts, Stitchers, and stuff like that, that's where you'll find the show. So if you just happen to find us here and you want to save our stream, that's where we are. So without further ado, because we are out of ados, unless there's anything else,
Don't
I think
do
we're done
drugs.
here. FBI warning, folks.
Don't do drugs. Yes.
Yes. All right. This has been the Gaming Tangents. We will see you all next week.
Woo.
Have a good evening. No, we're done with the woos.
Oh, okay.
We're at the end now. Okay.
Have a good evening, folks. Take care.
Bye-bye.
And cut.